Hello and welcome to another episode of the We Are Pod. My name's Kirsty Franks and I'm a board member for Women in Estate Agency, and every week we're bringing you stories from people all across the industry. I also want to give a special mention to our sponsors and our partners at Digital Sparks, who are doing some incredible short form video for agents and suppliers across the sector. If you haven't checked them out, head over to their Instagram and give them a follow. So, on to today. We have got a very special guest with us today, and somebody that I've been really excited about coming onto the pod for quite some time. She has got a very varied career, from starting out in the industry at just 16 to going on to running her own business, and now heads up one of the most recognisable brands in our industry. She's also recently become a new mum, so we're definitely going to delve into that topic today. I'm very pleased to welcome MD of Fine & Country, Nicky Stevenson.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the pod. I appreciate it. So, for anyone that doesn't know you, bring us up to speed on your incredibly varied career. Starting at 16.
Starting at 16, yes.
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
That's quite some time ago now. But yeah, I mean, I think like many people in the industry, it's one of those sectors that you just kind of fall into. And I was 16 and just finishing school. I think we literally got we finished our GCSEs, and my dad and my mum were selling a property. And I'd always been interested in property, probably through my parents. And they were like, well, why don't you go to the local estate agents, and get some work experience now that you've finished your GCSEs? So that's what I did. Off I went to the local estate agents, and all my friends were out, enjoying the summer. And I was in the local estate agents learning what it meant to be an estate agent. And before long, they offered me a full-time role, which wasn't the intention. I'd enrolled at college, and
what were you going to do at college?
I think I was going to do business studies, photography, English, and media.
So creative.
So yeah, I guess yeah. And they offered me this job, and I thought, what do I do? Because all my friends are going to college. That's what people do. You finish school and you go to college. And then I kind of thought, well, what's the worst that can happen if it doesn't work out? I'll just go to college a year later. I feel like this is the right thing to do. And so that's what I did. I kind of took the road less travelled, as it were, and got a full-time job at my local estate agents. And that was, when I was 16. So before I knew it, I think I was doing viewings and I did evaluation before I could even drive, which is, crazy, really.
Were you confident though? Because, you come across as incredibly confident, but at 16, I don't know. So I think there's a balance. You're either confident because you don't know any different, or you're shy and think, oh my God, how am I going to go out and go into somebody's house and have these conversations?
Yeah.
Which side of that were you on?
I remember being scared. 16, it's quite young to make quite a big decision that's obviously shaped my career since. And going into this unknown world of work at a young age, I was definitely scared. And I wouldn't say I was confident, no. But I think I've always been inquisitive, so certainly from day one I would be asking loads of questions. I remember in one of my jobs I got nicknamed Question Time because I just literally asked so many questions. I wanted to know everything about everything. And I suppose our sector, certainly back then, maybe it is still a little bit that way now, your training is on the customer. It's not so much we're going to go into a boardroom, especially with smaller independent companies, and you're going to have this whole training session on how to do a viewing and how to do evaluation, etc. It's almost like, here's the keys, off you go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
like you say, certainly in the independents, I think corporates, it's a different world in terms of the training programs, but in the independents, it's here's some keys, get on the job.
Exactly. So that's what it was like. And it was almost like, right, okay, sink or swim, I suppose. Get on with it. So that's what I did, and just did what I was told, I suppose. You've got to do this viewing. I don't think they intended for me to do so much, but you know what it's like. Things happen, the diary gets waylaid, and so it's like, can you just go and do this viewing, or can you just go and do this valuation? So I remember my parents driving me I was learning to drive at 17, and I would drive myself to work with my mum or dad in the car. And then, you know, drop myself off at work, and I'd be doing a day's work before I could drive. So
how long were you in that role for?
In that role, I think it was about 2 years, maybe, something like that.
So it worked? You didn't need to go to college?
No, so yeah, I stayed with it. I didn't go to college. And yeah, I guess from there it's shaped my career, and I met some great people. And then I did a brief stint after that for another local independent. And then I got approached to join Davis Tate, where I spent, you know, a good, I think, 4 to 5 years in my career there, which was brilliant. And before I know it, I was running a couple of their offices. So it was a great stepping stone.
At what point did you know, okay, I can make a career out of this? This isn't just me making a bit of money at 16 and I can be the one that can be going out on a weekend and my mates can't because they've got no money. At what point did it turn into, actually, I'm good at this, this can be a career for me?
Good question. I think I always knew it could be a career. I think because when I joined the first company, you know, there was that female, my boss was a female.
Yeah.
And then when I joined Davis Tate, my boss was a female. And so I suppose I was in an environment where they were, you know, running these businesses or departments and very successful at it. And they would have their nice cars and their nice work outfits. So I guess I knew from being in that environment that, well, I could have that.
Yeah.
You know, there's other women, okay, yeah, they're older than me, but they're absolutely, you know, doing a fantastic job at what they're doing. So I can.
I think that's really refreshing and actually unique in terms of the stories that we hear on this on the pod as well, because you had those role models, you had those strong women that you could look up to. So I guess for you, that kind of equality question, or, you know, can I be a female in a majority male world? Those questions weren't really on your mind.
Not really. I mean, I think, you know, you could sense that, I suppose, right at the top there, you know, certainly were more men. But yeah, I had always worked with females. And so I suppose it wasn't obvious at that young age that, oh, this is a man's world and you can't have what you know, what you want because you're a woman. Yeah. I guess I'm grateful that I was in that environment where there were these strong female individuals that for I couldn't doubt that, you know, if they've got it, why can't I have that kind of thing? So
it sounds, I mean, it's obvious that you had a really strong work ethic from day one in terms of, you know, getting in there, asking the right questions, pushing forward, need to get my driver's license because I've got to go out and do these valuations. What's next? You know, you became a manager at just 19, kind of leading various different branches. You know, you and I will have loads of people working for us and will have seen kind of new people come into the sector, into different businesses that we've worked in throughout our career. And one of the frustrations I have, or that you see it sometimes, is there still that drive? You know, is there still that, do you know what, if you want to be successful, you just got to be the hardest working person in the room. You've just got to learn on the job. You've just got to graft. Amongst a whole host of other things. You know, I've got a 13-year-old boy, and the one thing that I'm trying to instill into him is if you want things, you graft. Absolutely. You work hard for it. You do. Do you see that that's a problem today?
Yeah, I think there is a change, I suppose, in certain demographics coming through that, I mean, maybe if you've been to university and, you know, you've invested so much in your learning and your career and you're in debt and you know, there's a sense of perhaps, you know, I'm coming out of university now, I've got my degree and so I should be able to get a job. But I think hard work ultimately, I mean, yeah, there's the whole working smarter, not harder, et cetera, but I think the crux of it is if you do want to get anywhere in life, you have got to roll your sleeves up and you've got to work hard. I think if you're expecting things to be landing on your, you know, easily landed on a plate for you, then, you know, you won't probably progress as far.
And you know, we talked about people fall into a state agency. I don't think anyone sat there at 14 in their careers meeting at school and, oh, maybe I'm wrong, maybe a handful of people, but you know what? I'm going to be an estate agent. but actually it's such a great industry.
Yeah.
It's such a diverse industry, and it's an industry that you can get in and learn on the job and progress quickly with the right attributes and the right mindset and the right work ethic.
Definitely.
So I think, you know, I worry about, do we have a skills gap coming through? I worry about, are we not attracting kind of the next generation into a state agency? But I still think we can make it sexy with the right mindset.
I mean, you look at some of our YouTube videos, it is sexy.
Yeah.
You know, walking around some of these amazing properties, you know, it's a job that I think many people will aspire to want to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's not an easy sector. You have got to work hard. Okay, you don't need qualifications as such to get into the industry, but you know, that doesn't mean you can just walk in and start doing the job without hard work. And I think, you know, that's something that's been instilled in me, I think, from a very young age by my parents. It was like, you know, my parents would be like, you've got to work, you've got to make your own way in life. If you want anything, you go out and earn it. You know, we weren't given anything. So, you know, that's it. You've got to roll your sleeves up, get out. And I was doing paper rounds and waitressing from 13. So, you know, I remember earning £2 an hour at my local coffee shop, working Saturdays and Sundays when I was 13. And I did it because I then learned, I suppose, the joy of earning my own money, the independence that gave me, the fact that I could buy my own things, that sense of satisfaction, the independence that I then had of, you know, with having my own money, having earned it, was amazing. And so I, you know, a lot of my friends didn't perhaps, you know, go down that same route, but
it's not about fast track, is it? It's about hustle.
Absolutely, rolling your sleeves up and doing what you can. And I'm very grateful, I think, to my parents, because they were literally like, right, you know, go and get a job kind of thing. And I think that's probably my dad. People, you know, I'm from quite an affluent area, Henley-on-Thames, and I remember I met somebody for the first time a few weeks ago, and he was like, oh, so you come from wealth then? It's like, no, that's very presumptuous. Yeah. Actually, my dad grew up on a council estate, very working class parents, and you know, everything that they've got, they had to work for, and everything I've got, I've had to work for, and that was very much instilled from the beginning. And I think maybe we, you know, need to encourage a lot more of that from the early days. But I don't think school teaches you that. You know, it's very much you go to school, you go to college, you go to university. You don't really learn a huge amount about business, about the wider world that we live in.
I think it is your parents, the people that you surround yourself with, having people that you can look up to in the first job that you go into.
Yeah.
It's the world that you immerse yourself in, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, I digress. You kind of took on that kind of first management role at 19. Talk about then what your career from there.
Yeah, so I was there for 4 to 5 years and loved it. It was such an amazing job, really good people, great role model manager, as I said. And it was quite an interesting decision that I had to make actually at that point. Well, there was a great recession, which was obviously quite a tough time for everybody working in the estate agency sector. And in 2007, I had literally saved enough money to buy a house, and I was going to rent it out and carry on living at home, because I think I was only 20 at the time. And at the height of 2007, I exchanged on this purchase, and the solicitor then called and said, sorry, but you're just not going to be able to complete on this property because the seller's taken out another charge against the property. He's in negative equity, so you can't complete. And I was like, really? This has never happened to anyone before that I've ever met, considering I work in the industry.
I'm in the game.
Yeah, like, why me?
Yeah.
And obviously it was the biggest blessing in disguise ever, because then there was the crash after
Everything
that.
happens for a reason.
Yeah. And so I carried on working through that recession period, and then me and my friends started talking, it would be quite fun to maybe go travelling. And at that same sort of time, my boss was leaving, and I thought, oh gosh, okay, I've got a decision to make, because if I leave, I'm potentially giving up a promotion opportunity. If I stay, I'll be giving up my dream of going travelling. And so I guess at that point it was getting sort of quite another big decision. I was, I think, 22 at the time, having been at David Stokes for quite a few years. But I did decide to quit my job. Me and my friend, we dumped our boyfriends, quit the jobs. And that was it. We went off and travelled the world for a year. So I spent the house deposit from...
Did you?
The sale fell through. Everything happens for a reason. So yeah, I was like, you know,
I bet you had a bloody great time spending that deposit,
exactly.
didn't you?
Yeah. Well, most people go to uni and they've got that kind of whole experience of, I suppose, finding themselves through being away from home, etc. in that environment. And my friend that I went travelling with, she didn't go to university either, and so we didn't really know how long we'd be away for, but we knew it would be kind of 6 months to 12 months, something like that. And literally, yeah, we were away for a year. So it was...
So you came back, experiences, memories, skint.
Yeah, exactly, skint. It's like, right, now I need to start again. But then the world didn't seem so big. And so I wanted to move to London. I wanted to live in London and kind of experience that environment. So I moved to London. And I did have to take a step back in my career. So whilst I was a manager before for, you know, multiple offices, that without London experience, there was just no way I was going to get a job at that kind of level. So I had to take a step back and become a negotiator, which, you know, I was happy to do. Kind of, you know, I think if you take a step back to take a few steps forward, that's fine. So I did that. And then not long after being in that business, I met Peter Knight, and he was obviously running a series of training seminars and events and workshops, etc. And I said to my boss, the boss in London, oh, there's this event that I'd like to go to. It sounds really good, and I, you know, got the opportunity to go. And he was like, no, it's not relevant to your role, so you can't go, basically.
Wow.
And so I remember being like really frustrated. I was like, hang on, this is my learning. And I think because I didn't go perhaps to college and university, I've always invested a lot in my learning through reading, seminars, etc. Yeah, personal development. And so I was a bit annoyed about that. And I took a day's holiday and went to the event anyway, because I thought, well, I'm not having you hold me back. So I'm off to the event anyway. And off I went, and then, you know, got to know Peter at that event. And he offered me a job. And at that time, again, it was like another step backwards almost, because he said, we need a client services manager, but it's also a bit of PA work. And I kind of thought, I'm not going to be a very good PA. But I can see the longer term view.
Did you think, I'm coming out of a state agency? Well, I know it's all in the sector, but I'm kind of going almost supplier side here.
Yeah, but I guess I kind of quite liked that. I go moving into B2B from B2C. B2C is very, you know, you're dealing with people's emotions and it's very up and down. And having been to some of the events, I went to, as they were then, EA Live and Lettings Live. I went as a delegate when I was at Davis Tate. So I knew the, I suppose, the environment that Peter, you know, that he worked in, the events that he put on. And
you understood, sorry, Nicky, you understood the audience better than anybody else, because you were that audience, exactly. You were the avatar.
And I thought, again, what's the worst that can happen? I don't like it, I can go back into frontline estate agency. It's worth a go. And I kind of thought that I'll learn a lot from being in that environment. And so off I went. And thankfully didn't do a day's PA's work in my life, because it was so full on. And I think somebody left like in the meantime. And so I ended up, you know, selling sponsorship, getting people into the groups. And, you know, the role was very different from day one, which was brilliant. I loved it. So, I was there for 4 to 5 years.
And what a great mentor to work for,
absolutely.
You know, and I think he's a shining example of, you know, how you can learn so much from somebody and really give you that kind of varied view of the sector, which I think, you know, has obviously set you up to part of the story of where you are today.
Yeah, and being in an environment, you know, a big part of it for me, okay, you've got the events and we did the awards, but the membership groups where you're in an environment with 12 to 14 business owners from up and down the country. You've got a speaker coming in, specialist in their area of expertise. So you've got marketing experts, leadership, you know, business management, change, dealing with difficult scenarios, HR. So all of a sudden I was like, I'm on this fast track almost MBA or something, where you've got speakers in from all sorts of different business backgrounds. And it was brilliant because I was just immersed in this environment of learning with real life business owners that were debating their real life issues.
Yeah.
And it was a phenomenal learning experience.
You must have just been a sponge in that environment. Yeah.
It was really good. I'm very grateful to Peter because he gave me a lot of experience and responsibility.
Yeah. Then you made another big change.
Yes.
You don't like just coasting, do you?
No, I'm quite good at making myself. If I get comfortable, I'm quite good at somehow finding a way to make it uncomfortable.
Yeah. But that's what makes you successful.
Getting outside the comfort zone. Yeah, exactly.
That's where growth happens, though, isn't it? And it's cheesy as anything, but it's true, isn't it?
Exactly.
So what happened next?
So then I think I was turning 30 because I was MD of Property Academy when I left, and it must have been this kind of turning 30. It's like, right, okay, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? I'm MD, and I loved it, and it was a really hard decision, but there was just this itch that I needed to scratch of starting my own business.
I know that itch.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, when do I do it? If I don't do it now, when's the right time? There's never the right time. So I think
it's scary. What if it goes wrong?
Exactly, but I guess I just thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? Doesn't work out, I'll get a job again. So
oh my God, it's like looking in a mirror, Nicky.
So that was, so it was a tough decision. But I decided to leave and set up a business, and it was in the property sector, but not a estate agency. It was more my brother's area of expertise. And so he was living in Canada, coming back and talking about, setting up a business. And I kind of helped my dad do some bits and pieces property related as well in the background. And so I just thought, it can't be that hard to set up a business. Let's just give it a go. I know the business side of things. My brother knows his, expertise and trade side of things. So I'll do everything but the hands-on work. And so, off we went, and I immersed myself into business networking and getting as much exposure for us as possible, built a website. And
when you started running your own business, was it what you expected it to be?
I think because I'd spent so much time with business owners in that leadership group environment, yes, I knew it was going to be hard. I knew there would be sleepless nights, when you've got wages to pay, bills to pay, and you're looking at, cash and what you've got coming in, etc. But I think living it is very different to, thinking about what it's going to be like. And so, it was hard. And I guess if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So, but I learned so much, and we had, a good little business really. Recruit. I mean, God, you say recruitment's hard, getting the right people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very hard getting the right people, and you realise that nobody's as invested in your business as
They're never going to be.
Business owner. Yeah.
No.
So it was really good to experience that, and I think I can relate to business owners now in a much better way because I've been there and had those sleepless nights, managing the P&L, and I kind of know what goes with it all.
Yeah.
And I did have plans to build on this business and branch off into different directions with it, but if I'm completely honest, the partner I was with at the time, we broke up, and he stopped paying towards the mortgage and bills, etc. So I was in this situation where, what do I do? Do I carry on, with the business? The business still runs, the functional business, because I'd got a team in place to run it, and I was really in the background just doing bits and pieces, but focusing on another kind of startup associated with it. And then, when me and my ex broke up and he stopped paying towards the mortgage, I was like, okay, I've got to make a decision here. Do I carry on, or do I get a job, because otherwise I'm going to lose my house? And
that is tough.
Yeah, so I decided to, the main business is, as I say, was running itself, so that's still going, and my brother runs that, but then I gave up on the other ideas that I had because I needed to, because I wanted to keep my my house basically and buy them out. So yeah, that was an interesting period.
And along comes one of the best gigs in the industry.
Yeah, well, before that, it was actually Keller Williams. So that was interesting as well because, again, having run my own business and believing in people having the opportunity to run their own business, when I realised I needed to, you know, figure out what I was doing because, you know, I didn't have a bottomless pit of money to keep me going, it's like, I could have done a couple of other ventures, but I really needed to get the income from getting a job. And the Keller Williams opportunity came up. And I kind of thought, at this point, bearing in mind this is what, 6-ish years ago, self-employed was still in its infancy, really. EXP hadn't launched in the UK yet. So I was kind of going out there and saying, I believe in this self-employed model. So again, it was quite a big decision. Do I kind of put my pole in the ground here and say, I believe in this model, because it was, as I say, in its infancy, there weren't huge amounts of brands out there offering it. But I believed that if people want to run their own business, they should have the opportunity to do so. It's hard, it's not for everyone. But actually, the flexibility, you know, I had cousins that also worked in the industry in the estate agency that left because there was no flexibility. They didn't want to work Saturdays and Sundays. They didn't want to work 8 till 8, and so they left and went to recruitment because it wasn't an option to start up their own business because it was cost prohibitive. And so the idea of the self-employed model appealed to me because I thought, well, surely it's got to be a no-brainer if you've got this fantastic umbrella company and infrastructure, tech, etc. And so,
master of your own destiny with all of that support.
Work the hours that you want to work. You can still, you know, a lot of agents I think love being on the sofa, and to progress quite often in a normal manner, you come away from that because you're moving up into
management,
managerial positions. And the self-employed,
but there's a ceiling.
Offered this kind of, you know, great opportunity. And so that was that. I thought, right, I think this is the future. I think this is going to suit me. It fits my skill set, and I want to back that kind of offering. So I was only there for 6 months and went off to Austin, Texas, to the mega camp that they run, and met hundreds of thousands of realtors from across the world that are under the umbrella, and it was brilliant. But I think there's some lessons learned around what they needed to do to make it work in the UK. But in the meantime, I was approached to join Fine & Country and launch the model for the brand. So
just before we come on to Fine & Country, so there's a whole host of kind of this brokerage model popping up all over the place now. What's your view on it today in terms of what's out there and what's available for anybody wanting to go self-employed today?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's obviously so many options now. And I think for the right person, it is an amazing model. You know, you've got to weigh it up. And there's so many different splits and so many different offerings. And I think you've got to delve into the detail and not be just, I suppose, sold on the amount of commission splits that you're going to get. Because, you know, what do you actually get for that? It's all very well saying, well, you get 80, 90, 100%. But what do you actually get for that? Because it's in 9 times out of 10, in my view, you're probably better off taking 50, 60, 70%, but actually getting more support, a better brand, more marketing including, et cetera, et cetera. So there's certainly a place for it, absolutely. And I think for the right individual that backs themselves, that's willing to graft.
That's key.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because, you know, we've still got a huge amount of the sector that is run in an employment type model, and that's absolutely fine. And I think, you know, it won't be for everyone, and some people will try and won't be prepared to do what it takes to make it work. It's a tough gig, you know, getting out there day after day, repeating the same perhaps mundane tasks to win your listings.
Out there, pounding the pavement, having the conversations, knocking on the doors.
It's be done.
Relentless.
Yeah, it really is. But if you do persevere, and of course you've got some money set aside to back yourself for a period of time until you get your first deals under your belt, then it's amazing. And you can be a part of a structure where you've got support, you've got a network of individuals that are all going through the same thing, that can relate to you and support you on your journey. So yeah, I think it's it's a brilliant opportunity. I think you've just got to delve into the detail around what you get. And I think also the fees, you know, the self-employed model works so well in so many countries because there is a higher fee. You know, if you look at America, you've got a 6% fee. You look at parts of Europe, 6-7% fees.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to go around.
1%.
Whereas here, if you're looking at a brand that only is going to demand a 1% fee and you're giving away X%, you've got to do a lot of deals. So I think you do need to think carefully about which direction you go.
Yeah. And understanding your numbers as well.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, you move from being, you know, a negotiator or a branch manager or whatever that might be to having to have a real commercial eye on what this looks like, know your numbers, know your P&L, find out how to run a business, because you essentially that is then what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yes, you've got a support network around you, but the commercials are they've
got to add up. And if, you know, if you're only got capacity to do a couple of deals here and there, you know, you've got to work out what you want to be earning.
Yeah.
And if you're realistically, you know, from a fee perspective, only going to be demanding X amount of fee as a percentage on an average house price of whatever, you've got to work out how many deals you've actually got to do to earn what you want to do. And that's why I guess where we're very fortunate at Fine & Country that we do have the upper quartile marketplace. A lot of our agents are charging 2% fees. So if you're on a self-employed model, there's a lot of pounds in that deal to go around. So
MD of Fine & Country, incredible brand, incredible role.
Yeah.
What did you feel like you had to prove when you got into that role?
A lot, I guess. I think, at the time, so I'm trying to think of timescales. I think it was 2020, we were in COVID when I became UK MD. And that was a weird period because I hadn't even really properly met the rest of the senior management team because we were in COVID.
Yeah.
And all these people were just on the screen. It's like, I have no idea who they are, really.
Yeah.
I set up at these meetings. It's like, oh, hi, you know, got no idea about, you know, the ins and outs of their lives and their roles, really. But yeah, I think it was an amazing opportunity. And I just thought, you know, I'm going to give it my all, really. And I could see the opportunity with the brand because before I joined Fine & Country, I didn't really know a huge amount about it, to be honest. They weren't hugely on my radar, wrongly or rightly. But I feel that we've come such a long way now with the business. We've had huge growth over the last 5 years. We've got, our social media presence, our YouTube following. I think we're quite a unique business whereby you've got the international offering and a one united luxury brand. But every single licensee, they are their own business owner. Yeah. So we've kind of got this best of both worlds where we are international. We've got a really recognisable brand. We've been voted the most recommended estate agency in the UK for 2 years running. But the business is run by small, nimble, independent estate agents.
With all the skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. They've all got skin in the game. And, you know, you come to our conference and you just realise how everybody just loves the brand, the passion for it. And so we've really tried to, I think, over those 5 years, I think coming from my training and development background as well, I really wanted to make sure we had enhanced academy days, the conference, you know, that we raised our game there, regional meetings, bring everybody together more. So, I've done my best over the last 5 years. And
more than your best, Nicky. Yeah. You are incredibly humble. Has it, I mean, I don't know how you're going to answer this because of some of the role models that you've had and the kind of success that you've had in your career. But has being a woman in such a senior leadership role ever presented any challenges to you? Have you felt like a woman in a man's world at any point, or felt like you had to kind of champion equality within your business?
Not overly. I mean, I think, you know, when I look at the business that Fine & Country specifically, the senior management team is probably weighted slightly more in female favour. Yeah. So it's not been something that I've felt, I suppose, in my experience, but I guess it makes sense to say in the wider industry, I know it's an issue. But personally, I don't think I've been held back because I'm a female.
Yeah. And I think you're an incredible role model and your story will absolutely inspire other people and other women and that are coming into the industry or in the industry already at the early point in their career. And it's a story of get your head down, work hard, learn, ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to sit in the comfort zone. Keep pushing yourself out of that. And, you know, if you do that, then that opens so many doors and so many opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm totally breaking the rules on how long this conversation is going to go on for today, because I cannot not talk to you about what happened last year, and which has probably been the biggest change in your life. When you had a little Christmas Eve baby boy. Well, firstly, congratulations. He's beautiful.
Oh, bless him.
Becoming a mum.
I know, yeah. Well, he came early, so there's me thinking I've got, you know, I finished work on the Friday, the 20th or whatever it was, can't remember. And of December.
4 days, 4 days.
And I was like, I've got, you know, 4 weeks to just figure out what the hell I'm going to do. Yeah. Get myself ready mentally and actually get the nursery sorted because nothing was ready.
How early was
he?
Bag
packed or anything. And we arrived on the 24th of December in the early hours. So he was like nearly 4 weeks early.
Wow.
So he was classed as premature. But so... But
everything fine?
I mean, he did have to go into the intensive care bit for a couple of nights, which is always a bit scary when you've given birth and then your baby's like taken away and
first time and you don't know what to expect as it is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? But yeah, I was expecting to be working on the Monday because there's just no way I finished my handover, and then on the Monday I didn't feel that well but had no reason to think I would be in labour. I don't even really know if I was or not. And then on that Monday night, my waters broke. And then the early hour, I literally went into hospital. It's quite a lot of information, but...
it's weird.
Yeah.
We talk about stuff. You're great.
There was meconium in my waters. So it's like, right, we've got to come in now.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the hospital bag packed. So it was like, oh shit, right, where is everything? We need to get everything together. And then we went into hospital and then literally, I think we got to hospital, I don't know, maybe like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And it all happened very, very quickly. And he was out at 6:25.
Wow. Crikey. And but you're like just shell shocked.
Yeah, everyone was like, he's going to be late. You know, your first baby can take quite a while and whatever. You're going to be in labour for hours.
Yeah.
And no, he was early. He was out really quickly. And it was actually a really positive experience. Apart from him then being whisked off to...
Yeah, but he's good. He's great. Everything's perfect. He's just started crawling.
Absolutely, he just started crawling and into everything. So
my experience, so I've just got one as well, one boy. And I was in a very similar position to you. I was in a big job and I was travelling all over the place. And I don't think I definitely wasn't prepared for this in the slightest. And then this baby comes along and nobody's ringing anymore and nobody needs to make you a decision on anything. You just have this baby who doesn't do an awful lot to start with. Yeah. And I had a major, major identity crisis at that point. What was your experience like of new mum and going from this high-powered leadership role to baby world?
Yeah. Well, it was a bit of a shock. I think firstly because he came so early anyway.
Yeah.
I just mentally didn't have a chance to shift gear into mum world or mum-to-be world. So I still was thinking, not like while I was actually giving birth, but, you know, there's all these things at the back of your mind. It's like, oh, I haven't crossed that off, or I didn't, you know, talk about that in my handover. And then, literally all of a sudden I had this baby and, you know, we took him home and it was amazing. And then I think it was probably after my husband then kind of went back to work and you're kind of left and you're like, oh, I've got this little baby and I can't really do much. Okay, I suppose I'll just watch TV and watch Netflix and
cuddle.
I'll cuddle and watch some Netflix. Can't really do much. And then I feel like quite out of my comfort zone because I felt almost guilty, like binge watching TV, which I'd never do. I'm like, well, I can't really do anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
So it took me a while to kind of, I think, mentally get into this new pace of life.
Yeah.
But then I'm not one to really sit still. So I think he was only 5 days old when we took him out for dinner for the first time. And, you know, we're just constantly out and about, really doing what I can now. I've been to the beach loads of times. I've had the best summer apparently on record. So if you're ever going to have maternity leave,
you have had a good one, year. To be fair.
Exactly. So I just keep myself busy, and I was like, what else can I do? I went through my whole wardrobe. I was like, right, sell stuff on Vinted, because it gets, you know, when I've sold it, it gets me out of the house to go and post it all. So
has becoming a mum changed your perspective as a leader? And I think specifically around, you know, you'll have had team members before that have gone off on maternity leave and come back to work, and kind of how you viewed that and how you were a leader in that situation. Has becoming a mum yourself changed your perception on that?
Yeah, definitely. I've had members of the team go on maternity leave, and I think because you're worried from an HR perspective of getting in touch, you know, they're on maternity, you just kind of leave them alone sort of thing. And I think being on the end of, you know, being the one on maternity leave, and now with social media being the way it is, you can literally see everything going on. You can't escape it. So every time I went onto my social media, it's like all my colleagues and my interim and all the things that's going on in the workplace. And I'm thinking, you know, I've almost got fear of missing out that all these things are going on. And I also... I think I was saying to you before, so we were, Finding Country was on Britain's most expensive houses, which is a really exciting time. And, you know, we put so much work into this in the run-up, and I'm not there to be a part of it when it's all on Channel 4 and there's all these social media posts going out, and I'm included in some of these social media posts because I was in the programme, but I wasn't tagged because, of course, they wouldn't have wanted to...
They didn't want to bother you.
Didn't want to bother me because I'm on maternity leave. But I'm like... hang on a minute, I'm on maternity leave, I'm not actually dead. Like, you can tag me in the social media post, but obviously from their perspective, they're just thinking, well, you know, we don't want to interrupt her, and that's the right thing to do. But so I messaged my colleagues and was like, you can tag me in things, you know. I do.
But I'd like you to.
I'm still alive, like, don't forget about me. So I think mentally it is a hard place to be, because you almost see your life, what was your life, being lived by someone else in your interim, and you still want to be a part of it, and you don't want to completely miss out. But then also you know, you want to spend your time with your baby and not miss out on those precious times as well.
Yeah. It's such a pull, and I think, you know, you don't want to think like that's a threat, but it also kind of does feel a little bit at the minute, and you're trying to wear so many hats. So what does going back look like? Does it feel, is the plan now what you thought the plan would be?
Yeah, I think so. I'll be going back full time. So very much what I thought it would be. What it's like when I go back, we'll see. I'm just starting to do my keeping in touch days, which I think are really good. So that when I do go back full time, I'm not completely on the back foot. Very much in line with what I think it would be. I mean, this afternoon I'm going into the office to see everybody, and we've got a bit of a strategy day today, so I'll pick up on what's going on and things like that. But I suppose just quickly, a piece of advice if you have got members of your team going on maternity leave, I think it is worth a quick conversation around communication and keeping in touch. And, you know, it was very much probably on my part reaching out, and I think that is the right way to go, but almost having a buddy that you know you can check in with. You know, I had a virtual coffee with a colleague, because I think it's important not to feel completely detached, and I can see perhaps errors that I've made on my part from colleagues going on maternity leave, where you have just kind of thought, right, we'll leave them to it. You know, going in her shoes and looking at the interim and what that person was doing in her place, I can see it can potentially be quite hard, or you might think, oh well, that person's doing so well in my absence, you know, they might not need me back, or maybe it's time for me to do something else, because, you know. So I think having a kind of buddy where you can have a virtual coffee and obviously agree it with the person before, and also if you're the person on maternity leave, I think if you want to, reach out and have virtual coffees and things so that you don't feel completely detached, because, you know, perception is reality, but you know, actually it's not. You know.
Those days where it's raining and the baby's cranky or teething or whatever, and you're stuck in the house, you get in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think so many women will have been there in their head, in this little baby bubble, thinking nobody needs me anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when conversations need to happen from both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nikki, I could talk to you all day. There's so much more I want to talk to you about. Honestly, your story is incredibly inspiring. The journey that you've been on and the success that you've had and the role model that you are for other women coming through this sector is really phenomenal. Also, just incredibly humble with your story as well. And it's been a pleasure talking to you and hearing more about it. You'll know from listening to the pod before that we always ask, who else would you like to sit in the hot seat and come and share with us their story? So a kind of suggestion from you would be great.
I think I've got two, if that's okay.
Of course.
So one lady, Sarah Tua, she's our licensee. She's a Fine & Country licensee in Northumberland. And I just think she's taken the licence later in life. She started as an associate, as a self-employed individual, and she's gone on to take the licence and build a business, and she's absolutely bossing it, and she's charging, you know, decent fees in a competitive marketplace where everybody else is struggling to get 1%. So I think she's got a really good story to tell. And another one, I don't know how she would feel about it, but somebody that I've seen from afar, we actually both spoke on separate panels at a conference years ago. Glynis is it? Yeah.
What a wonderful human she is.
And she's obviously in the TPFG world now.
Yeah.
I went to one of the TPFG strategy days, but, you know, I only saw her in passing. And I just think I'd love to know more about her experience. She built the Hunters brand, which has obviously been a very successful business, listed as well.
And now part of TPFG.
Yeah, part of TPFG. She sold it out. So I think her story would be definitely one to hear.
Yeah. Definitely. I'll nag her. Glynis, I'm nagging you until you say yes. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the pod. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.